It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
Perhaps the concerned look on Eagle coach Dick Vermeil's face as he walked into Giants Stadium was because his team had won 5 in a row over the New Yorkers, and he felt that sooner or later they were going to get him. The Giants are showing a lot of new faces this year, and they are a vastly improved squad over the one the Eagles last beat. Nevertheless, the Philadelphians, too, are improved, coming into the game with a 6-5 record and playoff hopes. So it's no wonder Giants fans were looking nervously over their shoulders. On their side, however, they do have an ace in the hole, a former 5th-string quarterback named Joe Pisarcik, who is the leader of the Giants' renaissance. A big plus for the Eagles is the return of top rusher Wilbert Montgomery, who will bring strength to the depleted running back position, where Philadelphia has suffered attrition and the untimely mistakes of second stringers forced into starting roles. But as we'll soon see, the Birds did bring one early Christmas gift to the Giants, a woefully weak kicking game that has seen kickers entering and leaving the Philly camp, some staying not much longer than their hang time. The question now is, will that be enough of a gift to make the difference as the Philadelphia Eagles meet the New York Giants in the NFL Game of the Week? In the very early going, both defenses were made of heavy metal and stood impregnable. Shoulder pad sandwiches were the order of the day. The Eagles' passing game was not connecting, and on the ground, Montgomery and number 35 Mike Hogan were not churning out drive-sustaining gains. The second time New York had the ball, Pisarcik went up top on first down to wide receiver Johnny Perkins for 17 yards. Again on first down at the 19, Jersey Joe dropped back and spotted running back Bob Hammond alone in the end zone, where he split the twin threes on Hammond's shirt to give the Giants a 7-0 lead. On a replay, we see that Pisarcik directed the defense to the right with his eyes before looking to his left and firing the strike. When Philadelphia took over, quarterback Ron Jaworski found himself playing host to much of the Giants' defense. The pressure had Ron firing stinging bullets to his receivers, passes that were too low or too hard to handle. On this particular play, the ball had been thrown not too low, was not too hard to handle, but was hurriedly released and consequently intercepted by linebacker Brad Van Pelt, who gave his team excellent field position at the Eagle 38. Although the first quarter was only about 2/3 over, New York fans could see their team's dominance was unadulterated by mistakes. They were taking it to the Eagles, whose flight pattern was erratic and rapidly losing altitude. On the very next play, Pisarcik brought the crowd to its feet again when he stood his ground under a withering linebacker blitz and fired going down for an 18-yard pickup to Perkins. 2 plays later, Pisarcik became Mandrake the Magician, for when he gestured hypnotically, Johnny Perkins became invisible to the Eagles' defense, sauntered into the end zone, and began a lonely vigil until the ball arrived. The Giants' lead had now grown to 14-0. As a repeat shows, the Eagles simply blew the coverage, and Perkins' only problem was being left with too much time to ponder the consequences of a dropped ball. a situation which never got past the hypothetical stage. Now Jaworski and the Eagles were forced to play catch-up, and this gave the Giants a little more latitude on defense. The pass pressure did not relent, and everything Ron threw was a victim of this harassment. The pressure in the pocket was aided and abetted by good secondary coverage, as exemplified by number 22, cornerback Ray Rhodes, who stopped Harold Carmichael from gathering in 6 points. And then for New York, it was open your present time. Even the 6'8" Carmichael couldn't have fielded this punt snap, which Mike Michel miraculously tracked down. And even more miraculously, got off from his own 24 to the Giants' 35. A repeat shows that the punt center's moon launch was big trouble for Michel, whose superb effort set things aright, while the Giants almost caused a problem for themselves at the other end of the play.
Looking. He's under the gun. He's hot, he throws.
Again, the tone of the game changed, and Jersey Joe was going uptown with little or no return on his efforts, thanks to tight coverage by the Eagles secondary, which twice stung, was now alert and wary. On the Eagles' first possession of the quarter, Wilbert Montgomery broke the first good run of the day, a low-slung 14-yard burst up the middle. 13 plays later, the Eagles were closing in on a score, but Jaworski was still hounded by the Giants' pass coverage. Finding the open man was tough enough, but by the time that feat was accomplished, the man was no longer open. First Ray Rhodes and then safety Ernie Jones, number 31, batted away touchdown threats. And when a 43-yard Nick Mickemeyer field goal was blocked, the Eagles came up empty. Then with less than 2 minutes left in the half, Jaworski, desperate to get on the board, aired a 47-yard rocket to streaking Harold Carmichael, who made a fine catch and dragged Jones to the Giant 14. For New York coach John McVay, it was time to call for the Big D. But the Big D got sliced up, right up the middle for 8 yards, and a score by Montgomery, and suddenly the game was a game. Then just as suddenly, the Eagles made their job a lot tougher, when once again their kicking game went awry. With 1:20 left in the half, Pisarcik was looking to get the points back, a cause which was helped measurably, 44 yards worth, by wide receiver Jimmy Robinson. The 5'9", 170-pound Robinson was finally run down from behind by 6'8", 275-pound defensive end Dennis Harrison, who scouts said, looks like Tarzan and plays like Jane. But they forgot to mention he can run like a cheetah. A repeat of the play shows it was merely a quick screen not designed for such a huge gain. But some less than solid tackling let Robinson escape, and all of a sudden, New York was threatening. With less than a minute to go, Pisarcik was throwing, but an indignant Eagle secondary led by number 23 Bob Howard was covering with a vengeance. On 3rd and 2 at the 7, Pisarcik went at Howard once too often, and the 12-year veteran saved the Eagles 3 and perhaps 7 points. A repeat shows that Pisarcik tried to force the pass. Howard intercepted at the cost of some pain and would not be ready for action in the second half. As for the rest of the Eagles and Coach Dick Vermeil, they were just relieved to go into the locker room trailing by a 14-6 margin, which had shown all the possibilities of being much worse.
PN Classic.
The only score in the third period was a New York field goal that put Philadelphia behind 17-6. The Eagles now needed 2 touchdowns to win, and with the way New York was coming after Jaworski, 2 touchdowns seemed almost impossible. Looking at this incompletion again reveals that the Giants linemen were constantly shifting their attack point, confusing the Eagle blocking assignments, and although not sacking Jaworski, they were forcing him into hurried passes. On this play, a combination of Troy Archer and Gary Jeter had forced Jaworski to bounce the ball to Mike Hogan. But on the play, Archer, one of the Giants' best defensive linemen, was injured and had to be replaced. The loss of Archer may have had an effect on the Giants' pass rush, for later in the Eagles series, Jaworski got some time to throw, but overthrew and Ernie Jones intercepted. Jones returned the ball to the Eagle 35, and late in the third quarter, New York had a chance to put Philadelphia away. For Jaworski, who had thrown only 9 interceptions this season, it was his second turnover pass of the game. But the Eagles' defense, which has given up the 4th fewest points in the league, bailed him out when they chased Doug Coder out of field goal range and kept the Giant lead at 11 points. Following the Giants' earlier field goal, the Philadelphia defense would not allow a first down and gave up just 38 total yards in the final 22 minutes of the game. There was no question that the Giants were finished scoring for the day, but that still left the Eagles needing 2 touchdowns, and the first would have to come from a long way away when John Shera muffed a punt and Otis McKinney smacked it toward the goal line. Vince Papale saved the Eagles, but with under 11 minutes to go, Philadelphia was 92 yards away from a touchdown that would bring them close. The Giant pass rush was still there, but a repeat of Jaworski's pass reveals that despite the pressure, the Eagle quarterback picked up 18 yards on a tough catch by clutch receiver Harold Carmichael. Carmichael has now caught passes in 92 consecutive games. The catch string is certainly impressive, but even more amazing is the fact that he has played in 92 straight games, where he is always public enemy number 1 and double covered by rival secondaries. The Eagle drive toward a proximity touchdown would of course be an air assault, trying to conserve time, and 3 times along the way, pass plays drew penalties, keeping the drive alive. An incompletion to Ken Payne became an 18-yard gain when Terry Jackson was called for interference. And 3 plays later, the Eagles picked up 17 yards when Jackson was called for interfering with Carmichael. Upon reaching the Giant 14, Jaworski began to work to his tight end, Richard Osborne. On the next play, Jaworski again went to Osborne, but he was clearly beyond the end zone when he made a fine catch over Ray Rhodes. On second down, a run failed to reach the end zone, and on the play, the Eagles were called for illegal motion. After some polite discussion, Brian Kelly and Jack Gregory declined the penalty. The Eagles had a 3rd and goal from the 4, 2 chances to get back in the game. Osborne failed to come up with a catch, claiming that he was interfered with. He didn't get the call he was looking for, but the Eagles made out all right anyway. On the play, the Giants were called for roughing the passer, and instead of 4th and goal, Philadelphia had a 1st and goal. Osborne, who was filling in for underpublicized but excellent tight end Keith Kreftley, who was out for the rest of the year, probably was not aware that a different penalty was keeping the Eagles' drive alive. But from the 2-yard line, it took Philadelphia 3 more plays to score. And when Hogan did finally bust in, the Eagles had used almost 7 minutes and only 4 minutes remained in the game. The Eagles again missed the point after, but it didn't really matter. They needed another touchdown with or without the extra point, as they now trailed 17-12.
Hi, I'm Lou Piniella, and you're watching ESPN Classics.
College football classics, all this week. It's Rivalry Week. Catch the most fierce and storied rivalries in all of college football. Ohio State, Michigan, UCLA, USC, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State. National powerhouses collide on Rivalry Week. All this week, only on ESPN Classic. Be there.
When the Giants got the ball, Philadelphia was forced to use 2 of its 3 timeouts and needed to break or face the task of another long drive with time running out and only 1 timeout left. The Eagles got the turnover they so desperately needed when rookie Dennis Harrison popped the ball out of Coder's hands. And rookie Reggie Wilkes recovered on the New York 33-yard line with almost 3.5 minutes to go. Suddenly, there was lots of time to pull out a dramatic fourth-quarter comeback. But as has happened to the Eagles time and again in recent years, when on the precipice of a great victory, they slipped. Against the Giants, an interception by McKinney appeared to send the Eagles down to another heartbreaking defeat. Philadelphia now had only 1 timeout left, and with less than 1.5 minutes to go, New York had only to run 3 plays and the clock would run out. On the first play, Pisarcik performed the obligatory quarterback fall down play. But for some reason, the Giants did not repeat the play. Second down was a handoff to Larry Zonka that gained 11 yards, at which point the Eagles used their last timeout. Now just 31 seconds remain. 1 more play. But here again, the Giants went with a handoff that turned out to be their most damaging handoff in many seasons. Herman Edwards' touchdown brought the Eagles an unbelievable victory on a play that the Giants really messed up. Not only was the play call highly questionable, but the mechanics were off too. Instead of just falling on the ball, New York ran a play that required Pisarcik to do a reverse 180-degree pivot. When he bobbled the center snap, he could not make a clean handoff to Zonka. And when he could not recover the fumble, the Eagles were winners. If there is one team in pro football that deserves a victory like this, it is the Philadelphia Eagles. So So many times in the past, they have been beaten in much the same way that they won this game. All the frustration of those losses was washed away last week as the Eagles' 19-17 victory ran their record to 7-5, just one game out of first place in the NFC East. Head coach Dick Vermeil, stoic through all the heartbreaking losses, was equally even-tempered in victory. Perhaps it was because of an added burden the Eagles team carried. Included in their prayers after the game was a prayer for owner Leonard Tose, who underwent open heart surgery earlier in the week and is now recuperating. Tose has asked of his coach that the Eagles play a meaningful game in November, and he will be satisfied. With the Eagles now in the thick of the playoff race, they face very meaningful games in November and December, and who knows, maybe even January.